Good morning, folks. Today we're going to try to go through the material of chapters 7 and 8 that you'll need for the exercises. If you've turned in either of those chapters, you can always resubmit corrections to update your grade. So we're going to start with chapter 7. And in chapter 7, we're going to talk about how to create in-page hyperlinks, how to do a 3-column page layout, setting up CSS for printing, and also for mobile display by using media queries. So, let's start with something called Fragment Identifiers. They're also called anchors. Alright, so a fragment identifier is a location in a page, usually an ID, that you can create a hyperlink that will bring you to that point in the page. So if you've ever been on a website with a return to top button, it's using this. All right, so you can see in the web page they would have an element with an ID. In this case, they're using top, and then you can create a hyperlink anywhere on the page, and when you click it, it will bring you back to that ID. Now it says here, notice the href attribute value. It has a # or hashtag here at the beginning. If you remember what that represents, that is an ID. So this is saying, click on this link to bring me back to the ID of top. All right, and you can see this. I like to use Wikipedia as an example of where you can see this. Because they've used these to create a table of contents. So any kind of a web page that has a lot of text, it's just really long, we can create links to bring us to different parts of the page. All right. So if we scroll down here, if you've ever used Wikipedia, you'll notice these table of contents. And each link here just brings us to a different part of the page. So I'm going to click Theoretical Computer Science. That brings us down to the Theoretical Computer Science header. Now, it doesn't matter what the text is in the header or in the heading. This is probably an H2 tag. So I'm going to open the inspector to take a look. Select this heading. Okay, so it's in an H3 actually. And inside of there, they've created a span with an ID of theoretical_computer science. All right, and if we look back at the link that got us there and inspect that, what do you think the href attribute will be? So it's right here. The href is #theoretical_computer_science. So when you click this, it'll bring you to that point in the page. So the exercises will ask you to create these fragment identifiers so that you can link to them. All right. One thing that's also useful is if you're giving someone a link to a page like this, a really long page, and you want them to be able to look at one certain part maybe they don't want to have to sift all the way through, you can find the ID, okay, and put it at the end of the URL, and they'll go directly to that section. All right, so I'll just make a little page here. And I'll add an anchor tag that will bring me to that specific ID on the Wikipedia page. Okay. Okay. And so I've got that link there. And if we look at the href attribute, everything up to here, this will bring us to the Wikipedia page for computer science. And then we've simply just added right after that, bring me to the ID of theoretical computer science. So now when we click on this, and when you have links in Replit that are going to an outside site, they will not work in, well, I guess this one does. But do you notice it brought me right to the theoretical computer science article? If it doesn't work, it should work if you open it in a new tab. And if I click the link, it brings me right down to that ID. Okay. So let's say I have a really long page. Create some form ipsum here, or generate some, just to make a long page. I'm going to pre here. This allows pre-formatted text, so I can paste all of this inside of a pre tag, and it will maintain all of the white space characters like tabs, returns. Okay. So if I open that in a new tab, and I'll just zoom in a bit here to make it a little larger down the page. Okay. That is not going to work. All right, I'm going to change it to a paragraph tag. Okay, and try this. There we go. All right, so that should make a long page. There we go. Okay, and then I want to put a link that'll bring me back to the top of the page. Morning, Alex. All right. So at the bottom, I can just put a hyperlink, anchor tag with an href. That'll bring me to the top of the page. So I'll put an ID of top. And I'll just put some text, return to top. Okay. And then when we click it, it should bring us back up. Oh, whoops. All right. Want to make sure. It looks like it might be built in to use. Interesting. I didn't create a top ID, but it still is going to the top, so it might, the browser might just recognize that. So normally, and you would probably want to do this just in case it is just the browser that's allowing me to do this. In your first element in the body, wherever you want the top of the page to be considered, you should give it an ID of top. That way it knows for sure where to go. So that's fragment identifiers. Fairly simple. You guys have been using IDs and IDs in CSS for a while now. Now you know that you can use those IDs as places to link to. Okay. All right, opening a link in a new browser window. So if you're browsing certain web pages, it can be annoying if you click a link and it loads the page inside the same tab. So you basically, if you want to get back to the information you had, you have to go back. Okay. Now, if you browse the internet a lot, you can right-click a link and do open in new tab. So that way you can have both open, or you can help the user out and change the link so that it will always open in a new tab by changing the target attribute. And that is right here. To open in a new browser window, you put in the link element, so the anchor element for hyperlinks, we have our href attribute, and then right after that we can put a target attribute with a value of _blank. That'll tell the browser to open it in a new tab instead of on the same page. So let's go ahead and change our link here. All right, so after the href attribute, where that ends here, we can add target equals underscore blank. Okay, and now when we click on the link, after we refresh, it will automatically open in a new tab. So this is good for a situation like this where I might have multiple links. I want people to visit a link and then maybe read something on my page. They don't lose their place on the page. Okay. There are times when you do want the page to change, like if you're linking to another page within the same site, and maybe this right here is kind of a content page, but if this was the home page and I wanted to connect to a content page within the same website, you know, it's up to you how you want to use this. Do you want that open in a new tab or in the same tab? All right, there's some other options here, but some of them are blocked by modern browsers. And I don't know if you remember, there was a time when the biggest problem on the internet was pop-up advertisements that would open in new windows, and they could drown you in pop-ups. Okay, so we can look at W3 schools target attribute. This will show us the other values. Okay, so it looks like the values they're showing in here have to do with frames, which we don't really use anymore, so we don't really need to say anything else about that. The underscore blank is useful, so you have that in your back pocket. All right. This slide is just demonstrating that you can convert any element into a link, a hyperlink. And so here, take a look, we have an opening anchor tag that's going to bring us to the w3.org site. The W3 is an organization that defines the standards for the web. So they are the first place you should look for relevant and factual information about the web. Okay, what's inside the anchor element, right? We have an opening tag, a closing tag. Which of these elements inside of here is going to become the hyperlink? That's a trick question. Not only are these elements going to become a hyperlink, but also the space around them. So let's go ahead and try putting this in our page. And again, be careful copying out of the PowerPoint. I've tried to go in and change the double quotes to the correct neutral double quotes, but if it uses the wrong ones, it's not going to work. So let's add a new link here to our My Links section. And did I forget to post this in? Yeah, I did. Okay, so I'll give you guys access to this. So you can look at it later if you need. And let's check it out. So now we have this link and this right here. I'm going to go ahead and, to help us see, I'm going to put a background color. Whoops. Might be getting a new computer for Christmas because this touchpad is not working. All right. I'm going to put a horizontal rule before and after this new link we added. And we'll go ahead and put one above the first link. Do you guys remember what a horizontal rule is? I like to think of it as a really cheap and simple way to separate things on a page. If you're just trying to convey information, a horizontal rule will do the job for separating things. Okay, so now we have these lines. These are the horizontal rules. And we're using them to separate our links here. So we can see here, this hyperlink is here, and it ends, because it's just an anchor tag, which is in line, it stops as soon as the text stops. What is this one? This one is an H1 and a paragraph. Both of those are together are the hyperlink. They're both contained in this anchor tag. So they start as soon as the H1 starts and ends after the paragraph ends, which includes all the space on the page that the block takes up. Okay, so let's see if I can add some background color to my links to see if that makes it more clear. So let's add a background color of gray. And I think gray will work as dark gray, or I'm sorry, gray with an E and gray with a Y. Okay, that's kind of too dark. So let's make our own lighter gray. And so you can always make gray by making all of the color values the same. And the higher the numbers, the lighter the gray. So let's try EEE. Now we have a very light gray. And so this actually isn't changing the background color of our second anchor tag here. Okay, so I'll go ahead and just apply the background color to H1 first. And then we'll do paragraph. So if you remember, a block element goes all the way across the page. There. All right. And then we have our paragraph, which is also a block element. Okay. And so you notice all the space, including the margin, because the H1 has a bottom margin of 8 pixels. Wait, no, sorry. Bottom margin of 21 pixels. And the paragraph has a top margin of 16 pixels. All of the space, including the margin, gets converted into a link. So anywhere that I click, it becomes a hyperlink. So over here, even if I click all the way over here, it's going to bring me to that page. All right. So like I said, this, I actually don't know if this is part of the w3.org. So the W3C is the World Wide Web Consortium. They develop open standards to ensure the long-term growth of the web. So you can take a look at those standards. Regarding everything that uses the web, so CSS, Internet of Things, I'm not seeing anything else that would be relevant to what what we're learning. Here we go. Language tags and locale identifiers. Okay. And they take this very seriously because this is organized like a research paper or a publication. So these are very specific. They're referencing other standards. This is, if you want to help design and develop what the web is, this is the kind of information you would use. But if you want to keep up on best practices, you can also use this as a standard. Grace, I'll check after the class. But if it's the email I checked yesterday, then you should have a reply. All right. So that's what this is demonstrating. You can convert any element to a link. Just be careful with block elements because it will go even where, there's nothing on the page because it's a block. Okay. You can also create telephone and text hyperlinks. Now these were not as useful in the past because everyone browsed the internet on their computer. And so unless you actually had some sort of phone or texting software like Skype, when you clicked these, it wouldn't know what to do. Now on a mobile phone, if you create a telephone link, it will, and you click it, it'll open your phone app with that number. Same with the text. Okay, so to test these out, you might need to open your phone, open the page on your phone and try them out. Okay. Be wary of putting your phone number on the web because search engines use something called a web crawler to basically download and copy all the information from websites so they can be archived for searching. Well, if your website is public, there's nothing stopping other people from using a web crawler just to harvest emails and phone numbers. So be very wary of that, because if you put your phone number live on the internet somewhere, on a forum, a Facebook post, anything that's public. Now you can set your Facebook to be private, but I don't think it's that way by default. But anyway, companies or just individuals can gather that information. So, and it's not like someone is looking for it, going to each web page and finding it. They can write a program that'll just do it for them very rapidly. So you can just assume as soon as you put any private information on the internet publicly that anyone will have it very quickly. Not to scare you, because who knows what they're going to do with it, but if you put your phone number, you're probably going to get a lot of telemarketer calls and spam texts. Okay. I don't think we have an assignment regarding sprites, so we might skip over that. Because I only want you to do 1 through 5 in Chapter 7. So we just need to look at the area landmark roles next. Did I take that part out or did I skip over it? Where is that? Or they don't mention it in the PowerPoint. Okay, well, we can look in the book here. So the question in the exercises is worded in such a way that it may be confusing. Okay. So this is on page 312. And so the idea here is you want to make a web page more accessible so it can have a broader audience from a business standpoint. And from an ethical standpoint, you should try to design things so that more people can use them. Okay. And so by adding accessibility, we're saying more people can access this. All right. So ARIA stands for Accessible Rich Internet Applications. And in HTML, all we have to do is set an attribute on our elements to enable this. Okay, so you remember when we were working with images and we would add an alt tag, and that we added that alt tag for browsers that don't load an image or are unable to load an image due to technical limitations, or they're just old. There are also browsers for people who can't see, which read the page to them, and so obviously that can't load an image, and we don't have computers advanced enough to interpret images on their own accurately. So by putting alt text, that's our interpretation of the picture so that people know what's on the page. Okay, with the ARIA roles, oops. Well, it looks like they took the examples out of the book. Here we go. Looks like there might be an example in here. Okay. Okay. Well, looks like in chapter 5 they also talk about it. Wow, I can't believe they don't have an example in the book. So the exercise says write the HTML to assign the header element to an appropriate ARIA landmark role. So what these roles are, I guess we'll have to just Google it because I thought it was in the book. Well, I guess they have the list at least. Well, you know what, actually, before we talk about this, and this is something I have to do every semester on all of these things, in the last version of the book they added this, and now it looks like they're removing it or making it less of a part. Things change on the web, so let's see. Are ARIA roles still relevant? Okay. This is from October of 2019. And so if you become a web designer, or you work on websites, or you become a web developer, this kind of thing is something you need to know and understand if it's still relevant. So you need to know how to figure out whether or not you should learn it. What we need to do in this class is so minor, it's not going to be that difficult. But I'll go ahead and post this page because it has a lot more information than the book does. Okay. And so it says, these are used by the browser to determine what the role of an element is, or a group of elements. Okay, so you set an attribute of role equal to one of the ARIA role attribute values. Okay, and so they have things like here we go. On the W3C, they have a list of them. All right. These are navigational landmarks. So these allow screen readers to move throughout the page, only providing the relevant information to the user. So for example, if you have the one in the exercise is asking you to add a role for a header. It says, write the HTML to an appropriate landmark role. And the book lists, these are your options. Come on. Nope. Try it again. There we go. Your options are banner, navigation, main, complementary, content info, form, and search. So the exercise is asking which of these are you going to need for a header. And so we're thinking the top of the page where we have the name of the company or an image, logo for the company, or whatever you want to put in the header of your page. And so you would look at these descriptions and decide which one is best for a header, right? And then you put it in, you would add it to that element. I'm not sure if they actually have demonstrations on here, but in the beginner's guide we have it here. So for a toolbar, for a toolbar role, you would add role equals toolbar. Okay. Wish they had a full example in here. Well, I guess I can just use it and show you. So I have this My Links section on the page. That's kind of my header. So what role would I give that from the list? What do you guys think? Should I give it banner, navigation, main, complementary, content info, form, or search for a header? Well, banner is for a header or logo area, so all we have to do is set it to role banner. Okay, now let's come down and look at, here are my hyperlinks. So let's consider this my navigation. Okay, I don't have an element that contains all of these, so I'll just add one. And how about the nav element? That's a container that's meant to hold the navigation. All right, that's a good one to put the navigation in, right? Okay, and so maybe I should give the role of nav one of these. What do you think it's going to be? Navigation. It says navigation, a collection of navigation elements. Those allow you to navigate the web. So we can set nav with a role of navigation. All right, and down here we have all these paragraphs that are kind of my content area, the actual information people might be reading on the page. Again, it's not in an element, but generally we would put the content information in a main element. So let's go ahead and do that. Open and close main. Okay. And so I can give, what role should I give that of these? So should we give it main, the main content? Should we give it content info, an area that contains information about the content, such as copyright? That's probably not it. Complementary, a supporting part of the document designed to be complementary to the main content. We don't have that. So maybe main. That one's pretty simple, right? How about we set the main element to have a role of main? Is this starting to make sense? You're just labeling the parts of the page for accessibility. So anyone that is creating browsers or screen readers or any software can identify these roles and then use them accordingly. Maybe you want a browser that displays a website very simply, so it removes every thing that's not needed. They can just find these roles that are important and format that however they want. Okay, so that is the ARIA roles part. So you will need to do that in the exercise. All right, and then the print CSS. All right, I like to show off my project that I specifically spent a lot of time building the print CSS for. Okay, and so remember, I'm sure I've showed this before. This is an app I built that shows you all of your board games you own that you haven't played. Okay. But what if I want to print out a checklist? I've written the CSS for this page so that when I try to print it, it removes all of the menus, it removes all of the pictures, all of the extraneous information, and it just puts the names of the games in a 2-column list, and I added a little checkbox in the print CSS. All right, this is a little bit more complicated because I'm changing the basic structure of the page for printing, but if you want to be efficient, you could do this. Okay. If you don't want to have to build the print CSS yourself, there's a lot of common ones you can use. And the print CSS can use roles or element names to only print the relevant information. So let's take a look at if we just search print CSS, there's a ton of pre-built print CSS style sheets that you can use. Okay, so let's take a look at this one. Maybe they have it all chopped up. Here's the finished one. So I can just take this print style sheet. Now, they have information at the top here in comments about who made it and when it was made. It's good practice to leave that stuff in because you're giving credit to the person that made it. So I'm going to copy that. And then right now, if I try to print this web page I created, it's going to include the header, the links. How useful are links to print out? You can't click on a piece of paper, right? Not yet anyway. They're working on it. And really, I just want maybe I don't even want this my links on here. Well, we'll just pretend it's something more relevant. But I just want to print out the content of the page. But we're also getting these links, which are worthless. And maybe there are images. We can strip those out. Let's add an image here just to demonstrate that. And we get to dive into my weird collection of pictures. Alright, have I added any new ones? Let's use this certificate. Okay, and we'll just stick that up. We'll just stick it in somewhere down in the content. Okay. So it's in there. Okay. Now, there may be images that you do want to print, right? Like if there are diagrams on a page. But this, I don't know, you probably don't need this image. Let's just say you don't. Okay. So if I refresh the page so we can see the image on there, and I print it, now that image is on there, but it's not really doing anything. And it's pushing the page down and may add another page to the print. Alright, so now let's put in that print CSS. So this is how you use print CSS. You add a new file. If you're going to keep it in you can do it in the same style sheet, or you can create a new one, which I prefer to do because the print CSS rules are so specialized for one purpose that you don't want to get them mixed up with your other rules. So I like to create a new file. We can just copy or paste the code in that we got, and now that creates a file, but the page doesn't know to use that, right? So if I go back here, I refresh the page, and I hit Control P, nothing will have changed. I need to connect that style sheet to my page, just like I did the original style sheet, which is using this link element. Okay, so I'm going to hit Control C, Control V, and then I'm going to change the href from style.css to print. So now we have two style sheets on this page. Okay, again, it hasn't changed, but if I print it, it still hasn't changed. Why not? There's one key step for creating a print style sheet, which is if you just add style sheets, it's going to apply them to the web page, but we don't want it to apply to the web page. We want it to apply to the printout of the web page. So we just need to add another attribute of media equals print. Then it will only use that style sheet for printing. So I'll copy that, add that inside of the link element for the style sheet, printing style sheet. Now if we refresh the page, Okay, and we hit Control P. We can see the hyperlinks have been removed, and, well, we still have an image, so I'm guessing this print style sheet does not remove images. They're setting any images inside the site title class to display none, but that's it. So let's just say we don't want to print any images. We can add to the bottom of our CSS. Looks like someone German made this. We'll just add it up here at the top. We can do. How would we hide an element? Does anyone remember? We need to change a property to a specific value to hide the element. So I'm going to use the selector of image to affect all images, but what property do I need to change to hide them? This was from chapter 6. It was the display property, and our options are block, inline, or you can use none, and it will hide the images. Okay, so when I view the page, we see the image, and then when we try to print the page, the image is gone. All right. Now, hyperlinks are not useful on their own, but you can use this rule to change content. What content allows you to do is just add HTML to the page. And so what this one is doing is saying, after a hyperlink, add this content. The attribute value of the href attribute. Now, what is the value of an href attribute in a hyperlink? It's the actual address of the link. So this rule can allow us to, instead of printing out just the hyperlinks, we can, or just the text of the hyperlink, we can actually print the address too, which is much more useful, even though it's annoying to have to type it in. You could probably get an app that reads a URL from a piece of paper and loads it on your phone. So yeah, URL reader. You just hold up your camera to a URL, it'll detect it and bring you to that page. So on a printout, you could just use your phone to go to the page, because typing out URLs is, for a lack of a better term, so 2000 and late. Computer can do it for you. Okay, and we don't even need HR codes anymore, or I'm sorry, QR codes, because we have image recognition for text. That's pretty accurate. I don't know about this app. Try it out and let me know if it works. But let's see what that looks like if we add that rule. So we need to go in where we're hiding all hyperlinks and change that. So to find that, we're just going to look for the word none. And find one that has anchor tags. Whoops, probably that big list. Oh, no, that's the image one we added. There it is. Image. Wait, what am I looking for? Hyperlinks, right? I'm looking for A. Well, I'm not seeing it. Just look for A. Not sure if you can do. Ah, here we go. Let's use a regular expression. So we want space A space. Or we can just do A space. Yeah, I'm not seeing it, so I'm not sure how they're hiding that. So let's just clear out the pre-built stuff so I can show you this. Okay, so now we have this. It should just take away images. So we still have our links at the top and the bottom. And in our print CSS, we can put that new rule that says, and this uses another pseudo class, right? So it says anchor tags the space after it, put the href attribute, print it out on the page. Okay, and so now if we refresh, okay, we have our hyperlinks, and then we go to Control P. And if you look, it's kind of hard to see because I know it's tiny on here. After every link, it actually shows the address. And then you could use your URL app to load that up off the printout. All right. There are some other things. This new page, you can create a class or an ID, I guess, but a class is probably better because you're going to use this multiple times. You name it something. They're naming it new page here. And then wherever you apply this class, it will start a new page. So if there's information that you want on separate pages or people to print out on separate pages, so let's go with, I want the list of links to print out on one page, and I want the text to start on another page. For what reason, I don't know, but I can do it, so let's try it. So I'm going to put that rule in the print CSS, and remember, I'm putting this in the print CSS because I want it to only affect it when you're printing. And so this says anywhere where I put the new page class, it will put a page break right before that element. Okay, and then I want that to happen on the main element here. So I can add in that attribute of class equals new page. Okay, now when I print, the links will be on one page and the content will start on another. And you can separate this however you want. I could put one, I could put a new page at different points in the text. Just do another demonstration of this for you. So let's say I want an H3 here that says first part. All right. And I want instead of starting the entire content on a new page. Well, let's try it. I think this might add a new blank page. Yeah, so if we're going to start with headings in here anyway, we won't need it there. We can just put it as an attribute in each heading. Okay, so this is saying we're adding a new H3 to separate, just to label the text here. Remember, this is just placeholder text. So everything I'm doing, I'm just deciding on the spot. And we'll call this one second part. All right. Now if we try to print this out, so I got to refresh first, pull the new CSS. We have the first part, and then this text, and then second part with an image and this text. I print it, it'll have the links on one page, the first part on another page, and the second part on a third page. So you have control over that if you want it to print out more cleanly. Now you really, this is really more of a feature that you would want to focus on for a page that's actually going to be printed. So maybe a recipe website. Let's look at some recipe websites and see how they failed on the print CSS. So all recipes, that's the top result. Let's hope that they have a good print CSS. How to dry brine a turkey. Okay, so they've got a video, they've got some social media buttons, they have a video that loads with audio, which is super bad practice. So they should have the audio off or just not load a video in the page. Okay, and so here's the description, here are the directions, here's the technique. Oh, and it looks like as you scroll, it just keeps adding more recipes. So I'm not even sure if this is a recipe. Looks like it's okay. We're not going to use this site. We're talking about pop-up ads. What a nightmare. Let's try this Epicurious one. We should just blacklist this site. Okay. Find a recipe. Pizza rolls. Okay. These are just articles. These aren't even recipes. Let's just choose something. Let's go quick and easy. How hard is it to get? I guess I shouldn't have searched pizza rolls. That's my fault. Let's just look for popular, quick and easy.
Pizza rolls and recipe.
Jeez. Okay. Well, these are just articles again. Here we go. How hard is it to find a recipe? Spicy braised tofu. Okay. 4 out of 4 forks. 100% will make it again. Okay. And this video better not play audio. So here's the ingredients, preparation, more videos. Man. Marketing is so annoying. Anyway, I'll try to print it, and we'll grade how well their print CSS works. Okay. Picture the food, that's good. They got their site name on there, okay? So you remember where you got it. That's good for them, and for you, somewhat. Here's the ingredients, here's the preparation. I like how the word preparation is at the bottom of the first page. That's real good. And then look, here's a box that prints out for you to type in your email address and hit a button. It's good that that's on there, right? No, you don't want that on there. Okay, so we'll give we'll give them a B on this. Okay. Let's give them some help here. So yeah, we can fix this. We just did it on the other one. Whoops. So we got to find where they're hiding their print CSS. All right. So we can search in here for .css. So they've got a few. Here they've got a typed kit. Let's check their open a new tab. All right, here's their CSS. They've minified it. Look at how much CSS there is here. This is probably generated by the web, whatever web framework they're using. This is computer generated code for CSS. Okay, anyway, we'll just use a embedded style sheet. So we'll go to the bottom of the head section. We can add in style tag, just like we always do. And we want our new page class. So let's go back and grab that. Okay. We'll add that in here. Okay. So now we have the rule in there. Let's see if it saves it. Yep. So we have that rule in there. Oh, that's going to apply it to the page even when we're not printing. I don't think that'll change anything. Okay. Well, let's put in the class and see what happens. So we need to go to this preparation section. That's where we're going to start on a new page. So we can change, well, we'll just add another class here. Section title. Ah, we can make this easier. We'll just use the class of section title. So let's go back up to our CSS. We can find it in here. Whee! There it is. And we'll go section. Thank you, short-term memory. I can't remember now what the class was. Section dash title. And we'll do that. All right. Yeah, I don't think that attribute or this property page break before affects the actual web page because it's not, there are no pages defined. So now hit Control P. We have the ingredients on one page. We have the preparation on one page. And we have the description on one page. Okay. We're wasting more paper this way, but I think we can use a better property, which is, here they don't have it listed in here, but we can do, I saw it in the, do we still have it open? Here we go. Wow, a lot of stuff was going on this page while I was gone. That's fun. Okay. There was something in here about not allowing things to go across the page. Page break inside a void. So this will, if you apply it to an element and that element crosses over multiple pages, it'll push it down. Okay. Now that's not going to work on the way we have this set up, so we'll have to put that somewhere else. Okay, so let's find what each of these sections is in. It is in a div, okay, with a class of instructions. And then I'm sure, oh, are they all instructions? So the preparation is instructions. The ingredients is class of ingredients info. That's recipe summary. Nope. Okay, so we'll just have to add a class there of, we'll have to add a class to each of those. So let's go back, add in a rule. So we don't want a page break before every section title anymore, because it's wasting too many pages. So we want to use the, so I can just get rid of this whole thing here. Darn it. And we can throw in this page break inside a void. And we can set this to a class of pbreak. You can just call it whatever you want. We call it pbreak, right? And I want that to go in the ingredients section and the preparation section. I don't want the ingredients to be spread out over multiple pages, if possible, and the same with preparation. Because I don't want to have to keep flipping back and forth between the pages. It makes it harder to read. And when you're cooking something, you don't want to miss anything. Because cooking is chemistry, and if you miss something, it's not going to blow up, but it's certainly not going to taste the same. So anyway, we have ingredients info here. That's the whole section for ingredients. Add another class. You just add a space. We can put the pbreak class there. And we want to add the pbreak class to the preparation section. So I'm finding the element here. Here's the H2. And then I'm just going up to find the container that's holding all that. And I know it's holding it because if I close the container here, it disappears because it's within that. Okay. So for the instructions, I can keep the class of instructions, but we'll also put the pbreak. All right. Now, didn't change the view of the web page, which is good. We don't want to do that. But if we try to print now, there we go. Thing will cooperate. So we have ingredients. So that didn't cut over to a new page, or if it did, it fixed it. And then preparation. Well, what that did was it allowed the ingredients to be on the same page as the description. And then now we're back down to 2 pages. So this is probably a little bit better. So we fixed their site for them. They probably don't care, even though, you know, the explanations I gave are, I feel like, more than relevant, because I can't think of a website where you're going to print the page more than a recipe site, especially because people that like to cook like to collect recipes and share them with others and organize them into a recipe list. So maybe you can help me think of some other examples of where people might want to print out pages. Basically anything with a set of directions. maybe a video game walkthrough, maybe crafting something, crafting directions, programming directions, exercise directions. Okay. So there you go. There's your note on print CSS. The kind of things that I didn't mention were, you know, you're going to want to make all the text black and all the backgrounds white to save ink and to make it easy to read. Okay. If someone's just printing out the page for the content, they don't need color. Now, if your diagrams rely on color, or there's parts that rely on color, you can, keep that. I'm not sure if you can actually change a picture to black and white. Probably you can. Monochrome. But if they have a black and white printer, then it won't matter because it'll do it for you. Anyway, so we're past the time. We're about 90% of the way through Chapter 7. We just got to talk about mobile design best practices. And then Chapter 8 and 9 are super hyper-focused on a specific thing. So 8 is just tables, 9 is just forms. All right. Tables are useful, though they're not used quite as much in modern web design, but it's still useful. Forms, though, everything uses forms. So you will use the information you learn about forms here in Web Scripting 1 if you're going to take that quite a bit. If you're in Logic, you could be using forms for your assignments. I have a few students that are looking ahead and working on that. You're definitely not required, but it's good practice. Otherwise, that's it for today, and you guys have a good day, and I'll see you next week. Actually, I'm going to do a live stream tomorrow because I want to make sure we get through all the material early so you guys have time to work on it. So I'm actually going to do another one at 9:30 tomorrow. So to finish up this chapter and hopefully Chapter 8. All right. Have a good day.